Hello and welcome to another Today in the Workshop video. We'll get started, put some music on, but copyright claims mean we have to have budget Daft Punk, so enjoy that. These are the mods from yesterday. I never actually took a video of them all finished, so here's a video of them all finished. There's a couple of little tiny visible imperfections where that guide coat's still sitting, but I can't feel them with my finger, so I think they should be fine. I'm trying to catch the light on it to show that it's nice and smooth and even, and the joins in the 3D print aren't causing any big lumps in it anymore, so these molds should produce some good pieces. First thing to do is wax them all up, because they've had all the wax removed and had a load of other things put on them and stuff. So I start by doing a kind of wax on, wax off, just a heavy coat of wax and then buff it straight off, and then another heavy coat of wax and just leave that to settle for a bit and then buff it off. None of the sort of waxing I'm doing for these molds is like particularly by the book, but PLA is really annoying and nothing sticks to it, which is really annoying for gluing it together or putting filler on it, but for actual releasing from parts it's really good. So that's the saving grace of the fact that nothing sticks to it, so you can get away with not putting too much wax on. Here's me just cutting up all the material for the layup. I've done this layup before, so I'm just sort of going by my book. I was happy with the result. It's not too complex, and there's not really a great deal of point in making a nice pattern for it, particularly with a wet layup, because it's hard to keep everything perfect. So these pieces are cut about 10 or 15 mil too wide, and I'll lay them in and then just trim that excess off. There's a couple of bits down in a sort of deep corner at one end of this mould, which is quite useful to have some extra bits for, so I can use those for that. And one of the reasons I was so excited about having this big new workbench is that I can finally put an entire roll of material just on the workbench and cut it. It seems like the simplest thing, but when you're operating in a small space, it's quite hard sometimes to deal with a roll that's 1.25 meters long or whatever it may be. So just putting the final coat of wax on now. These have been just progressively getting more and more layers as I've been doing other bits around the workshop for the morning. And it's just a last coat, which I do more of a sanity check, just making sure that I have waxed it, and it's a good point to clean off anything that may be on there, any bits of dust or fluff or anything that might have collected on there. So I'm going to pre-prep all my vacuum bags. That was the one that I used yesterday just to dry it all out, so I'd just cut one end of the seal off. And the way I'm laying these parts up is with an internal bag, so this is a special, it's advertised as gusset folded, which is the type of fold it has in it, and it's quite useful. You can make your own quite easily, and there's various other ways that I could do it, but it's nice to have an off-the-shelf solution to just roll out and prep. So as I say, I've done this layup before, so I know all my measurements and I've got them written down from previously, but I'm just sanity checking myself and gave the material that I had a rough way to make sure that I was thinking correctly last time, and I haven't made any edits that I didn't write down. So I'm going to mix up the resin there. I start a timer off camera and that timer is still running now, and that lets me know pretty much the moment I mix the resin, so I can keep an eye on cure times and stuff. And I've laid down a big sheet of, I don't know what it is, just big plastic sheet. It's quite thick stuff, and I'm going to use that to lay each piece on progressively, wet it out on there, and then it's hard to see, but the first thing I put down was a little strip of peel ply, which allows me to pull that part up easily. And for these first cosmetic layers, the uni that I have isn't woven or stitched or anything, but it's bound by these kind of very lightly tacked just slight strands of, I think they're glass or something, but I don't like how they look on the outer surface, and they always seem to peel off. So on the first layers I'm peeling them off there, as you can see. I don't do it on the rest of them because it's inside the laminate and will live. But you can see how I'm getting it all in, and there's a bit of excess which I can then easily just whiz off to the edge of the mould line. So I'll just progressively fill in the layers into the part now. I'm doing 2 bits of uni at a time here for this one, just makes it a bit quicker. That's that little bit that's just, it's a bit deeper because of the shape of the tube, so I have to trim it in the middle so that it all lays down nicely, and I can use those excess bits from the side to just fill it in, which is fine to do with uni like this because I don't need any overlap because there's nothing going at a 90. But later with the woven I will put an overlap on the extra little patch I put in that section. So the camera ran out of battery, so this is just what it looks like as a final. I've got a strip of woven going along the top, and that bit is sort of the very top front of the top tube, the bit that you're going to look at most of the time, just behind the stem, and that's in case I decide to put any top tube bag holes, mounts, whatever into this tube. It's just got a bit of extra reinforcement along the way, and there's those overlapped bits for that. And this side has a load of excess because that will be the sort of fold over wraparound stuff. None of this layup has any 45s in it, but I didn't do that on the last ones, and I found I quite liked it, so cool. I'm doing a debulk on these 2 parts, so I specifically mixed quite slow resin so I had time to do this. So I'm just putting some release and breather on, sticking them in that bag again. It's getting a lot of use, and just letting it squish down for a while, squeeze out any extra air or help consolidate all the bits, because for the internal bagging there's not going to be any breather or release or any sort of flow media of any kind, so I do worry that stuff can get sort of stuck in there and not compacted too well, so I think a debulk is a good idea. So to force myself to leave that for half an hour and not just take it straight out, I go and have my union mandated lunch break, which is peanut butter and toast, my autism lunch, and that stops me from getting restless and impatient and taking it out before I should. So from there I can cut the end off the bag for the 3rd time now, move everything to the side and just get that breather and release film off as delicately as possible, because I don't want to disturb all of the squishing that it's done, but it will have made a big difference. Now I'm going to lay that tube bag in, and I've left a lot of excess on these folds, so now I can fold it over and trim that excess to match where I want it to be by eye, close up the mould, and then I just hold it together with these bulldog clips, and then wrap some tape around it so that it can go in the bag and not just get nudged or moved ever so slightly, which has happened before on some moulds and it's really annoying. So now I'm just packing it all up into the bag for its final cure, and my camera had run out of battery again and I didn't get to charge it enough when it last ran out of battery. So this clip will cut out halfway through, but there's not really a great deal interesting to see. We've watched things go in bags before. So yeah, hopefully tomorrow I'll demold this and we'll see if 6 hours of sanding has paid off. Hopefully the part should come out looking pretty much perfect. Yeah, thanks for watching.